Today we're going to be talking about assertiveness and some of the common misperceptions and myths about assertiveness. Hi everyone. In today's video we're going to be talking about the concept of assertiveness and some of the common misunderstandings and myths associated with the interpersonal style of assertiveness. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about assertiveness and the most common myths that people have about what assertiveness is and how assertiveness works. So the first myth is that assertiveness and aggressiveness are the same thing. So a lot of times when people think about what it means to be assertive or what does it look like when someone's being assertive, they'll picture the person in the bank who's yelling at the bank teller and pounding their fist on the bank teller's desk and saying, "I want my money." Well, that's not assertiveness. That's well, it's being a jerk, but it's also aggressive. Assertiveness and aggressiveness are not the same thing. And I did a previous video that talked about some of the key differences between assertiveness, aggressiveness, and being passive. But the key difference between being assertive and being aggressive is when a person's aggressive, it really is about them expressing what they want and dominating and domineering the other person, not allowing the other person to have opinions or to be able to share their opinions. It's all about winning. It's all about, this is my opinion and my opinion's right. My opinion's the only one that counts. But assertiveness is about just allowing myself to express my opinion and allowing other people to have an opinion as well. It's not about winning. It's not about dominating the other person. It's not about being right. It's about being open and sharing my views and being respectful of others to allow them to share their views. And it's okay if we agree to disagree because it's not about winning. So assertiveness is not the same thing as being aggressive. Second common myth about assertiveness is that assertiveness is a personality style. So I'll often hear from my clients, yeah, you know what, it's just not in me to be assertive. I'm not that type of person. I'm not an assertive person. So it's almost like they see that assertiveness is a personality characteristic. And if it's a personality characteristic, I can't really do anything about it. Essentially, some people are born assertive and some people aren't. And if you're not born assertive, then you can't be assertive. Well, assertiveness isn't a personality characteristic. Assertiveness is an interpersonal style. It's a skill, and it's not who you are, it's what you do, and it's how you relate to other people. And you can learn different ways of relating to other people. So just like any skill, assertiveness is something that can be learned, can be practiced, and you can get better at it. So it'd almost be like saying, it's not in my personality to play the trumpet. Or I wasn't born with, having trumpet in my nature. Well, that doesn't make sense because playing trumpet isn't something you're born with. It's something you learn to do. Same with assertiveness. It's not something that you're born with. It's not something that's an integral part of your DNA or your personality. It's a skill. And just like any skill, if you practice it, you'll get better at it and you'll get more confident with it. So it's not who you are. Assertiveness is about what you do. Another common myth about assertiveness is when you start to be assertive, start with the most difficult people in your life because those are the ones you need to be assertive with. That makes sense a little bit on the surface, right? If you're having these really difficult interpersonal interactions with other people, or there's these really sort of challenging people in your life, being assertive with those people might seem like it would really help and make things better, because if I can fix those relationships, then my life will be better. But going back to the notion of assertiveness being a skill, you need to build up that skill. So, like, for example, when you're learning to play a piece of music, you're learning to play piano, you don't start with a really difficult piece of music to start to learn how to play the piano. You start with something a lot easier, learn it, and then gradually build your way up. It's the same with really difficult people. What you want to do is to start easy. Start with interpersonal interactions that maybe don't have a lot of significance. So maybe you start by practicing being assertive with the person who's calling you on the phone and is trying to sell you insurance, and you can practice being assertive with that person because you're not going to ever see that person again or talk to that person again. So it's okay if the interaction doesn't go great. So going back to the notion of assertiveness being a skill, you want to start with practicing assertiveness with easier people in your life and then working your way up to some of those more challenging interpersonal interactions. Another common myth about assertiveness is that you need to be assertive all the time and in all social interactions. Right? And this kind of makes sense on the surface, because if we talk about assertiveness being kind of the most effective interpersonal style, it makes sense then why wouldn't I want to be assertive all the time? Well, because not every situation requires you to be assertive. And if you try to be assertive in every situation, it's probably just going to lead to unnecessary sort of conflict or challenges with other people. So I'll give you an example. Suppose you're visiting your grandmother, and your grandmother offers you some tea in a very grandmotherly sort of way. And you say to her, no, thank you, Grandma. It's fine. I don't need any tea. But she eventually comes by and she pours you a cup of tea anyway. Now, you could say, oh, hold on a second, Grandma. I told you earlier that I didn't want tea. And so I would really appreciate if the next time that rather than you pouring me a cup of tea, that you would listen to what I asked of you and not disrespect me by pouring the cup of tea. It's kind of a ridiculous thing to say, right? Sometimes it's okay to not be assertive. Sometimes it's okay to not share exactly how you feel, because not every social interaction requires it. So if your grandma pours you a cup of tea, even though you told her that you didn't really want a cup of tea, it's okay. You don't need to be assertive about that situation. Another myth about assertiveness is that when a person's assertive, they know exactly what to say, the most assertive thing to say in every situation. This is just really unrealistic. It's unrealistic to expect that you'll know exactly what to say, the right thing to say in every situation. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you're having a conversation with someone and, an hour or two after the conversation, you think to yourself, I wish I had said this. We don't always know the assertive thing to say in a situation. So someone might ask us to do something and we're really not comfortable with doing it, but we don't really know exactly how to say no. You don't have to know how to say no every single time. What you can do, though, is to ask for more time. So if you're not sure what to say, you're not sure what the assertive response is, you're not sure exactly how you feel about the situation, it's perfectly okay to say, you know what, that sounds good, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Because by asking for more time, it gives you some time to think about the situation a bit more clearly, gives you a bit more time to sort of process what you want in that situation, and then also to be able to think about what it is that you want to say and how you want to communicate assertively to that other person. So you don't have to feel like if you're an assertive person, you know exactly what to say every single time, every single interaction. So it's okay to ask for time to be able to come up with the best thing that you want to say in that situation. And finally, the last myth associated with assertiveness is that assertiveness is only to be used for conflict situations. That assertiveness is only necessary for dealing with conflict or in situations where you might disagree with another person. Well, the thing about assertiveness that's really important to understand, really important to recognize, is that at its core, assertiveness is really about you just expressing what you think, expressing how you feel, sharing what's going on inside of you, sharing your thoughts with other people. Essentially, assertiveness equals openness. It equals a sense of I'm sharing who I am with this other person. I'm letting them in to what's going on in my head, what's going on in my thoughts, and how I feel. So it's not just to be used for conflict or dealing with conflict. Assertiveness can be used for deepening relationships, for actually helping you form a deeper connection with the other person because you're being genuine about who you are. You're not trying to figure out what is the best answer here, what is the way that the other person wants me to behave, what is it that I should be saying so that this other person will like me. What you're doing when you're being assertive is you're sharing who you are and how you feel, allowing the other person to share how they feel, and in doing so, the two of you can make a deeper connection. So assertiveness isn't just about conflict. It can actually be useful for deepening relationships, making friendships closer, making intimate relationships closer. So assertiveness equals openness. So I hope that helps give you a little bit of a better understanding of some of the aspects of assertiveness and what assertiveness isn't, and some of the myths and misperceptions that people will often have about assertiveness. So hopefully that helps clear up some misunderstandings or beliefs that you have about assertiveness. I'd love to hear your thoughts or comments about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you're enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.